If you've ever been called a loser by a stranger, it hurts. But when that word comes out of your own sister's mouth, into a microphone, in front of hundreds of people, it does something else. It rewrites you from the inside. I still remember the exact sound of her voice that day. Clear, confident, smiling. The kind of voice you expect from someone who has always been told they're going to be someone important. It's people like her, my sister said, pausing for effect, who prove that if you stop trying, you end up a loser. There was a ripple of laughter through the auditorium. I didn't understand at first. I was sitting halfway down the middle row, between my parents, holding a small bouquet of flowers I couldn't really afford. I turned my head to see who she was talking about. Then she lifted her hand and pointed, straight at me. My ears rang. My chest went cold. For a second, I honestly thought my heart had just stopped. The big screens on either side of the stage showed her smiling face. The top graduate, the scholarship winner, the pride of the university, my little sister. She didn't look upset. She didn't look conflicted. She looked like she was enjoying herself. I could hear people around me shifting, a few nervous laughs, a whisper behind me. Wow, that was harsh. My mom's hand, which had been resting lightly on my arm, slipped away. My dad cleared his throat and stared straight ahead. Up on stage, my sister, Lena, kept talking as if nothing had happened. I had people in my own family who gave up on their dreams, she went on, her eyes never quite leaving mine. People who told me I was dreaming too big, who settled for less because it was easier. I refused to end up like them. More polite laughter, some clapping. A professor near the front nodded proudly, as if she'd just said something deep. I couldn't move. I had traveled 5 hours on a bus to be here. I had traded shifts, lost sleep, worn the one nice dress I owned just to sit in this seat and clap for her. Now I sat there with crushed flowers in my lap, listening to her use me as a punchline. Loser. The word bounced around in my skull over and over. Loser, loser, loser. Everyone stood when she finished, a standing ovation. My parents got up too. I stayed sitting, knees shaking, staring at the stage. And here's the part that still twists my stomach when I think about it. She had no idea that the person she'd just humiliated in front of her entire class was the same person who had quietly helped her get there. I'm Maya, by the way, the loser in this story. Or at least, that's what she decided to call me. But if you want to understand how I got to the point where I decided to expose her, to pull the mask off her perfect image, you have to understand where we started. Because you don't wake up one day and decide to destroy your own sister's reputation. You get pushed there, inch by inch, word by word, choice by choice. It started long before that graduation stage. It started when we were just two little girls sharing a small, noisy room in a small, noisy house. People always compared us. Which one of you is the smart one? Who's the troublemaker? Who's going to be the doctor? Adults thought they were being funny, just teasing. But those little questions made a cut that kept widening as we grew. Lena was always the golden child. It didn't feel like a big thing at first. It was slow. In elementary school, she came home with perfect scores, gold stars, stickers. She'd slam her backpack on the table and pull out test after test with big red A's on top. My parents would smile so wide when they saw them. That's our girl, my dad would say. So smart. Teachers called my mom and said things like, your younger daughter is really gifted. They'd put her work on the classroom wall, pull her to the front and ask her to read out loud. I did okay, I wasn't failing. But reading was hard at first. The letters liked to flip around. Numbers didn't like to stay where they belonged. I needed more time than other kids. No one ever tested me for anything. They just said, Maya's a little slow to catch up. Or, she's distracted, not as focused as Lena. It didn't take long before even I started to believe I just wasn't the smart one. At home, the pattern deepened. At dinner, the conversation was always the same. How was your day, Lena? What did your teachers say about your project? Any new competitions coming up? Then my mom would turn to me. You're doing fine in school too, right, Maya? Yeah, I'd say. And that was it. They'd go back to Lena. It wasn't that they didn't love me. I know in their own way they did. But love and attention are two very different things. I was the kid who helped with the dishes, who went with mom to the market, who held the flashlight for dad when he fixed things around the house. I liked drawing in the margins of my notebooks. I liked taking broken objects apart to see how they worked. Lena liked being seen. She joined every club, spelling bees, debate team, student council, talent shows. My parents attended every event. I remember one awards night at school. Lena walked across the stage 3 times. Academic excellence, science fair winner, leadership award. My name was called once. Most helpful student. On the way home, I sat in the back of the car, holding my little certificate. Lena turned around from the front seat and waved her stack of awards at me. I got one for grades, one for science, one for leadership, she said, grinning. What did you get again, Maya? Most helpful, I said quietly. She tilted her head and gave me a sweet, fake smile. So, you're like the assistant to the smart kids. My parents laughed. Don't be mean to your sister, Mom said, but she was still smiling. It's just a joke, Maya, Dad added. I looked out the window and said nothing. It wasn't a joke to me. That was the first little crack. By high school, it wasn't subtle anymore. Lena took all the honors and advanced classes. She filled her schedule with AP course and clubs that looked good on college applications. She stayed up studying until late, and Mom would say, Maya, can you handle the dishes? Your sister needs to concentrate. So I handled them, every night. I did my own homework at the kitchen table once everything was clean, sometimes with my eyes burning from soap and my back aching from leaning over the sink. When my report cards came, they were decent. I got B's, an occasional A. Nothing dramatic, nothing worthy of a proud phone call to my grandma. Lena's report cards were household events. One night when I was 17, I passed by the kitchen and heard my parents talking in low voices. If we cut back on some things and I work weekends, I think we can save enough for Lena's first year, my dad said. Not all of it, but most. What about Maya? My mom asked. There was a pause. I could hear dishes settling in the rack. Maya's practical, my dad said. She'll figure something out. Maybe a vocational course, something local. But Lena's special. We can't waste her potential. Special. That word wrapped around my throat. I stood there in the hallway, holding a laundry basket, listening. Maya will figure something out. Lena is special. 2 sentences, 2 paths. That same night, Lena came into my room and flopped onto my bed. I heard them talking, she said, eyes shining. They're totally going to send me to a real university. I forced a smile. That's great. You don't want that, right? She asked casually. Like, it's not your thing, big universities and all that. I hesitated. What if it is my thing? She looked at me like I'd just said I wanted to be an astronaut. Be realistic, Maya, she said. You're good at other stuff. You're more people smart and, helping. I'm the academic one. She didn't mean it like a knife, but words don't have to be sharp to cut. Sometimes they just wear you down, layer by layer, until one day you notice there's nothing left where your confidence used to be. That was the night I made a quiet choice. If I wasn't going to be the brilliant one, I would be the useful one. I would hold things together. I would help. I would be, at the very least, good. When Lena got her acceptance letter to her dream university, the house exploded with joy. My parents cried. My mom hugged the envelope to her chest. My dad took pictures of Lena holding it up, her grin so big it almost split her face. They called every relative. No one asked if I had applied anywhere. I had. To a small design program in another city. They rejected me. My grades were average. My application was rushed. I had no extras to impress anyone with. My rejection email arrived the same week as Lena's acceptance letter. There was no space for my disappointment in that week. My dad sat us down at the dining table. Here's the truth, he said. Money is tight. We can help a bit with Lena's first year. After that, we'll see. She'll probably need to work, get scholarships. It's going to be hard. Lena's excitement dimmed a little. Maybe I shouldn't go, she said softly. If it's going to be that hard on you. I heard myself speak before I had fully thought it through. I can help, I said. They all looked at me. How? My mom asked. I can work, I said. Full time. If I stay here, I don't have to pay rent. I'll help with her expenses while I figure out what I want to do. My dad stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. That would really help, he said slowly. Are you sure? I nodded, even though my stomach had dropped. Yeah, I said. She worked hard for this. Someone has to have her back. Lena jumped up, came around the table, and hugged me so hard it hurt. You're the best sister in the world, she said. I'll pay you back someday, When I'm rich. I held her tightly and stared over her shoulder. In that moment, I told myself I was doing the right thing, that this was what older sisters did, that maybe one day, when she was successful, she'd look back and say my name with pride. So I graduated high school and went straight to work. First at a grocery store, then at a cafe, sometimes both in the same day. Early shift, late shift. My body got used to standing for hours, to the ache in my feet, to the constant low-level exhaustion. Every paycheck, I'd hand a portion to my mom for the house, and another portion for Lena. Her rent is due, Mom would say. She needs to buy lab materials, my dad would add. She has to go to this networking dinner, Lena would text. It's super important. There's a cover charge. Can you please help? And I helped, month after month, year after year. When Lena called, she sounded like she was living in a movie. Maya, this campus is insane, she'd say. The library is huge. My professor used to work in another country. My roommate's dad is a surgeon. People take weekend trips just because they're stressed. I'd be wiping down a sticky table, balancing my phone between my ear and my shoulder. That's amazing, I'd say. Yeah, it is, she'd reply. Oh, also, my calculator died, and I need a new one. They're pretty expensive. Could you? I'll see what I can do, I would say. Every time. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself, once she graduates, things will be better. She'll help us all. She'll help me. She'll remember. The first time I visited her campus, she had already changed in ways I didn't want to admit. I arrived with a small duffel bag and a cheap college hoodie I'd found at a thrift store, washed twice so it would smell clean. I texted her. I'm here. OMG, she wrote back. I'm in the quad with my friends. Come find me. The campus looked like a different planet. Old red brick buildings, perfect trees, students walking in groups, laughing. Everyone seemed relaxed and confident, with shiny hair and nice clothes. I spotted Lena sitting at a picnic table with a group of people. Their outfits looked expensive without trying. There were laptops open, iced coffees in hand, earbuds dangling. Lena saw me. For a second, something flickered in her expression. Then she smiled. A big, bright, almost forced smile. There she is, she said loudly when I reached the table. My cousin. I stopped. Cousin, I repeated. The others looked up and smiled politely at me. Yeah, Lena said quickly. She's visiting, from back home. I stared at her. I knew that look. It was the same look she had when she wanted me to play along as kids. The look that said, please don't embarrass me. So I swallowed everything I was feeling and said, hey, nice to meet you guys. They asked me where I studied. I'm working right now, I said. Saving up, thinking about a course later. One of her friends nodded carefully. Good for you. Taking time to figure things out. That's brave, she said, like she was handing me a consolation prize. I sat there with them for an hour, feeling like a tourist in my own sister's life. Every time I tried to jump into the conversation, it slipped past me. Internships, study abroad, career fairs. When Lena excused herself to walk me back toward the bus stop later, the silence between us felt heavy. So, I said lightly, I'm your cousin now. She sighed. Don't start, Maya. Start what? You know how they are, she said. They're all from a different world. Their parents are all doctors and CEOs. If they hear my sister works at a grocery store, they'll judge. It's just easier this way. So, it's easier to be embarrassed of me, I said. Got it. She rolled her eyes. Don't make it dramatic. You know I appreciate everything you do. I literally tell everyone you help me. Just not the details. Right, I said. Because the details are the part that makes you look less shiny. She hugged me at the bus stop. Thank you for coming, she said. And for the hoodie. It's cute. I'll pay you back someday, I promise. I nodded and got on the bus. As the campus shrank behind me, I stared out the window and pressed my forehead against the glass. It hit me then. In the world she was building, there was no space for who I really was. There was only space for the version of me that was blurry and quiet, the one she could mention when it made her look humble or hardworking, the one who funded things from far away and never asked for anything. Still, I kept helping, because I was in deep by then. Money, time, emotion, habit. Then came the scholarship. It was big. A private foundation that gave full rides to students from working-class backgrounds who had overcome hardship. It covered tuition, books, housing. It came with mentors and networking events, even a little monthly stipend. "If I get this," Lena said over the phone, almost breathless, "I won't need as much from you. Or Mom and Dad. You could, I don't know, breathe a little." I clung to that thought like a lifeline. "What do you have to do?" I asked. "There's an essay," she said. "The essay is everything." "Okay," I said. "So, write it." "I tried," she replied. "I have 3 drafts. They're all trash. They sound fake, like I'm trying to win a contest. I need your help." "What do you want me to do exactly?" I asked slowly. "Just write something real," she said. "You're better at that. You know how to make people feel stuff. I'll edit it. Put it in my own words. Please, Maya, this scholarship would change everything." Every part of me knew this was a bad idea, but every part of me also knew what that money meant. For her, for my parents, for me. Less late nights, less crushing anxiety about bills. "Okay," I said. "I'll help. But you have to change it. Promise me you won't just copy it." "Promise," she said. That night, after a full shift, I sat down at our old computer and opened a blank document. I wrote what I knew. I wrote about 2 sisters in a small house, a dad who came home tired from a factory, a mom who always smelled like cooking oil and soap. I wrote about being the first in the family to walk onto a campus like Lena's, about fear, about pressure, about wanting to be worthy of every dollar your family didn't spend on themselves so you could be there. I wrote about quiet sacrifices that never make it into any official story. I poured myself into it. When I finished, my eyes hurt and my fingers ached, but the essay felt true. I emailed it to her. I wrote, "This is a draft. You need to change it so it sounds like you. Don't submit it as is." She replied within minutes. "This is perfect. I'm literally crying." I smiled at the screen. For a moment, I felt proud. I told myself this was love, family, teamwork. Weeks passed. Then one day, my mom burst into my room, tears in her eyes and her phone in her hand. "She got it," she said. "The scholarship, full ride. They called her personally. They said her essay was one of the most powerful they'd ever read." I jumped up. "Seriously? That's incredible." Mom nodded quickly. The director even quoted one of her lines back to her. The one about, what was it? The quiet sacrifices that never make it into the story. So beautiful. Where did she learn to write like that? My heart twisted. That was my line. I laughed softly. "Yeah," I said. "Where did she learn?" Later that night, I called Lena. "So," I said, "what did you end up changing in the essay?" She hesitated, just for a moment. "I tweaked a few sentences," she said, "but your draft was already amazing. I didn't want to mess it up." "So you submitted it basically as I wrote it," I said. "Why are you saying it like that?" she asked defensively. "It's my story, Maya. You just helped shape it. We're a team, and if I had told them you wrote a draft, they'd think I cheated and take the scholarship back. Do you want that?" "No," I said quickly. "Of course not." "Exactly," she said. "So can you not turn this into a drama? You know I'm grateful." Grateful. That word sounded cheap. Still, I stayed quiet. I told myself it didn't really matter whose fingers touched the keyboard. It was about her life, her struggle, her future. But a seed had been planted. That seed turned into something thorny on her graduation day when I heard that same style, that same trick of turning pain into something poetic, turned against me. "We all know people who gave up," she said in her speech, smiling like she was telling a joke. "People who stop trying and then act surprised when life leaves them behind." The crowd chuckled. "Some of us even have them in our own family." Her eyes found mine. "It's people like her," she added, pointing, "who prove that if you stop trying, you end up a loser." My stomach twisted. She was standing on top of all those quiet sacrifices, our parents, mine, and using me as an example of what not to be. I don't remember how the rest of the ceremony went. I know the audience clapped. I know my parents stood. I know they took pictures and cheered. I remember staying in my seat for a few seconds longer while everyone around me rose. It felt like the air itself was pushing me down. After the ceremony, in the crowd outside, we finally found her. She was glowing, surrounded by classmates and professors, posing for photos, cap tilted just right, diploma folder in hand. When she saw our parents, she rushed over, arms spread wide. "You made it," she squealed. Mom hugged her tightly. "You were wonderful," she said. "So brave, so honest." Dad clapped her on the back. "I'm proud of you, kiddo." And then there was me. She turned. For a split second, I saw a flicker of discomfort. "You came," she said, as if she hadn't personally invited me weeks ago. I held out the flowers I'd spent half a week's spare change on. "Congratulations," I said. My voice sounded far away, even to me. She took them and hugged me quickly. In my ear, she whispered, "Don't look so depressed. It's a happy day. Don't make it weird." I pulled back and stared at her. "A happy day," I repeated. "Yeah," she said, frowning. "Don't be dramatic." Her friends called her for more pictures. She shot me one last small smile. "Please don't start anything," she said quietly. "Please don't ruin this for me." Then she ran back to them. "Don't ruin this for her." The words floated in my mind like smoke. I stood there, looking at the girl my whole life had been organized around supporting. The girl I'd worked double shifts for. The girl I'd lied for. The girl I'd practically ghost-written into this bright future. And I realized something simple and painful. I had never ruined anything for her. I had only ever ruined things for myself. The only person whose life kept getting smaller was mine. That night, alone in a cheap motel room with ugly curtains and a humming air conditioner, I replayed the day over and over. My phone buzzed with messages from people who had seen clips of her speech online. "Was that you?" she pointed at. "Damn, your sister is savage. Are you okay?" I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I opened my email. I scrolled back to the night of the scholarship essay, saw my own document attached, my original file, my name in the metadata. I scrolled through old messages from Lena. "Your draft made the director cry. You're so good at this emotional stuff. Don't tell Mom and Dad, they'll say it's cheating." At the time, I had dismissed those as jokes. Now they looked different. They looked like evidence. My hands shook as I created a folder on my laptop and dragged everything into it. The essay, the messages, the confirmation email from the foundation announcing Lena as their inspiring scholar. I named the folder Lena Truth. I sat back on the lumpy mattress and stared at the ceiling. The easiest thing would be to do what I'd always done. Swallow it. Go home. Go back to work. Add this new humiliation to the pile of things I never talked about. But something in me had snapped when that finger pointed at me. I realized that my silence wasn't noble. It was just convenient. For everyone but me. There's a kind of anger that burns hot and fast. It makes you want to throw things, scream, break something. This wasn't that. This was cold, clear. I didn't want to scream. I wanted to be heard. The next morning, while my parents spent time with Lena and her friends, I sat in a small cafe, opened my laptop, and found the Scholarship Foundation's website. They had a contact us page, an email address for the program director. I stared at it for a long time. If I did this, there would be no going back. I knew that. You don't expose someone's lie and then go back to Sunday dinners like nothing happened. I thought about myself at 16, holding that Most Helpful Student award. I thought about myself at 18, telling my parents I'd work so Lena could go to college. I thought about the bus ride to visit her, hearing her call me cousin. I thought about the way her finger felt, even from a distance, when it pointed at me in front of that entire hall. Then I began to type. I told the truth. I explained who I was. That I wanted to remain anonymous to protect myself from family fallout, but that I would answer questions if needed. I said I believed one of their current scholars had submitted an application essay that was not entirely her own work. I attached the original document, the one I had written, with my name listed as author, dated weeks before the application deadline. I attached screenshots of messages where Lena thanked me for the draft, admitted she hadn't changed much, bragged that the director had quoted my line. I ended with this. I don't want money. I don't want a scholarship. I don't even need anyone to know my name. I just can't keep watching someone build their story on something they took from me and then use that success to shame me. I think you deserve to know the truth about the essay you rewarded. I read it over 3 times. Then I hit send. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. Next, I found the email for the university's academic integrity office. I sent a similar message. I attached the same files. They had rules about plagiarism, about honesty. Lena had known that. She'd sat through the same orientation lectures everyone else had. She chose to break them. I was just choosing not to be her shield anymore. For a few days, I heard nothing. I went to work. I wiped down counters. I made coffee. I listened to coworkers complain about small things and smiled like my whole life wasn't hanging on 2 emails in someone's inbox. Then, one afternoon, an email popped up with a subject line that made my breath catch. Concern about application essay. The program director thanked me for reaching out. She said they took these allegations very seriously. They were reviewing the essay and the evidence. She said they might contact me for more information. I exhaled slowly and closed my eyes. A day later, the university emailed too. Their message was colder, full of policy language. They said the incident would be reviewed under their academic integrity procedures. I knew what that meant. For a week, I lived in a strange limbo. Part of me was terrified. What if nothing happened? What if they didn't care? What if Lena managed to talk her way out of it, and I ended up being the villain in everyone's eyes? Another part of me was weirdly calm. For the first time, I had done something not as a supporting character in my sister's story, but as the main character in my own. A week later, my phone rang in the middle of my shift. The number was unfamiliar. I almost didn't answer. "This is Maya," I said. "Hello, Maya," a woman's voice said. "This is Dr. Hayes, director of the Johnson Foundation." My legs went weak. I grabbed the edge of the counter. She asked if I had a few minutes. I told my coworker I needed a quick break and stepped into the back room. They had compared my document to Lena's original application essay. They matched. Not a few lines, not a general idea. Almost word for word. She asked me some careful questions. Did I write the draft alone? Did I give permission to submit it as is? Did I have any reason to invent this story? I answered honestly. At the end, she sighed. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know this is probably complicated for you, but you did the right thing contacting us." What happens now?" I asked. "We'll be informing Lena and the university," she said. "There are procedures we must follow. I can't share details, but I can tell you that we do not tolerate misrepresentation. This isn't just about an essay. It's about trust." We hung up. I stared at the staff schedules pinned to the corkboard. A few hours later, my family group chat lit up. From Mom. "Lena just called. Something about her scholarship being under review. Do you know anything about this, Maya?" I looked at the screen for a long minute. Then I typed, "No, I haven't talked to her today." Technically true. Emotionally, not so much. That night, around midnight, my phone rang again. This time, I knew the number. "What did you do?" Lena's voice came through, sharp and shaking. "Hello to you too," I said quietly. "Don't play dumb," she snapped. "The foundation called me. The university emailed me. They have your draft, the screenshots. They said someone anonymous contacted them. It was you. I know it was you." I stayed silent. "You're trying to ruin my life," she said. "After everything I've done? After I worked so hard?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm just telling the truth you left out." "What is that supposed to mean?" she demanded. "It means you used my work to get something you didn't earn," I said. "Then you used that success to stand on a stage and call me a loser. You built your big moment partly on me and then pretended I was nothing." She scoffed. "This is about the speech? Seriously? You're that fragile?" "This isn't just about the speech," I replied. "The speech was the moment I realized just how little you thought of me. The essay, the money, the years. That was the foundation. The speech was the slap in the face." "You're jealous," she said. "You've always been jealous. I made something of myself and you didn't, and you can't stand it." I actually laughed, not because it was funny, because it was such a familiar script. "Jealous?" I said. "Lena, I gave you money I didn't have so you could live that life. I gave you my time, my energy, my words. I didn't say anything when you called me your cousin in front of your friends. I didn't say anything when Mom and Dad spent years praising you and barely looking at me. But you crossed a line when you used me as an example of failure in front of an entire hall of people." "You don't understand what you've done," she said. Her voice was rising. "They might take my scholarship. They might flag my records. My job offer is already asking questions. You're going to drag me down with you. And for what? Some hurt feelings?" "For honesty," I said. "For finally choosing myself. For finally deciding that my life matters too. I didn't steal from you, Lena. I didn't go behind your back to sabotage good work you actually did. I pointed at something you took from me and said, 'This isn't right.'" There was a long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was cold. "You're dead to me," she said, and hung up. I held the phone to my ear for a few seconds after the line went dead. Her words hurt. How could they not? This was the girl I'd shared a bed with growing up. The girl I'd protected when other kids were mean. The girl whose shoes I used to lace up before school. But under the pain, there was another feeling. Not joy, not satisfaction. Something like relief. Because for the first time, I hadn't folded. I hadn't apologized for making her uncomfortable. I hadn't rushed to fix things. I had stood my ground. The fallout came slowly, piece by piece. The foundation officially revoked her scholarship. They sent a formal letter, using phrases like misrepresentation and violation of policy. The university placed a note in her record. It could have been worse. They didn't take her degree away, but they made it clear that any requests for references or verification would include mention of the incident if asked. Her shiny job offer called her in for a conversation. They'd heard about the scholarship being revoked. They wanted to know why. They wanted to understand what academic honesty concerns meant. In the end, they decided to move in a different direction. At home, my parents were confused and angry and sad all at once. "How could you do this to your sister?" My mom asked me over the phone, voice shaking. She worked so hard. "Did she tell you about the essay?" I asked quietly. "What about it?" Mom demanded. "Did she tell you I wrote the first version?" I said. "That she submitted it almost unchanged? That she told me not to tell you because you'd say it was cheating?" My mom went quiet. "Did she show you the foundation's email?" I pushed. "Where they compare my file and hers? Where they say it was basically the same?" There was a long pause. I didn't know," my mom whispered. "She just said someone was jealous and wanted to hurt her." "Of course she did," I said softly. "That's easier than admitting she did something wrong." A few days later, my dad called. His voice was heavy. "I talked to both of you," he said. "I saw the emails." "And?" I asked. "And we failed you," he said. "We should have seen what we were doing. All that time praising one daughter and expecting the other to keep everything afloat. We made you feel like a background character in your own life. That doesn't excuse what you did." "What I did?" I cut in. "You mean telling the truth?" He sighed. "You know what I mean. Going to the foundation, the university, it was a big step. A hard one. But I understand now why you felt you had to do it." He paused. "I'm sorry, Maya," he said quietly. The words didn't fix everything, but they landed somewhere deep. While Lena was scrambling to rebuild, something unexpected happened in my own life. For the first time in years, I had a little bit of money I didn't immediately have to send away. Not a lot, but enough. Enough to quit one of my jobs. Enough to sign up for a basic design course at the local community college. I almost didn't do it. Some part of me still believed school wasn't for me, that I was too old, too behind. But one afternoon, I found myself standing in front of the enrollment office with a form in my hand. "Is it too late to sign up?" I asked. The woman behind the desk smiled. "Classes start next week. You're right on time." Sitting in that classroom on the first night, surrounded by people of all ages, I felt something shift. I wasn't supporting anyone else. I wasn't doing it to make someone look good. I was doing it for me. I learned about color, layout, simple software. I stayed up late working on projects, not because they would lead to anyone else's success, but because they belonged to me. My parents started asking me about my classes. "What did you design this week?" my mom would ask. My dad would look over my shoulder when I worked on the computer. "You did that?" he'd say. "That's impressive." I wanted to tell him. I always could do things like this. You just never looked. But I didn't. I just let their attention wash over me in small waves, trying not to drown in the mixture of comfort and resentment. Months passed. Lena and I didn't speak. Then, almost a year after her graduation, an unknown number texted me. "It's me." I stared at the screen. "Who?" I replied. "Lena." My chest tightened. "What do you want?" I typed. There was a pause. "Can we talk? In person?" Every part of me screamed, "Don't." Another part, the part that still remembered two little girls sharing secrets in the dark, whispered, "Maybe." "Public place," I wrote. "If you yell at me, I'm walking out." "Okay," she replied. "Cafe on 5th, tomorrow at 3. I got there 15 minutes early and sat by the window. my hands around a mug of tea that kept going cold because I kept reheating it. When she walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. The confidence was still there in her posture, in the way she scanned the room, but it was softer. Her eyes had dark circles. Her hair was pulled back in a messy way that didn't look like the casual style she used to wear. It looked like she actually hadn't had time. She sat down across from me. "You look good," she said, as if the idea surprised her. "Healthier?" "I'm okay," I said. "You?" She gave a short, humorless laugh. "That's a complicated question." We lapsed into silence. "How's your job?" I asked finally. She shrugged. "Not the one I wanted. They dropped me after the scholarship thing. I got something smaller at a local office. They know about what happened. I told them. Figured if anyone hires me now, it has to be someone who already knows my worst mistake." I nodded. "That's honest," I said. She fidgeted with a napkin. "I hate you sometimes," she said quietly. The words sliced through me, but I didn't react. "Because of what I did?" I asked. "Because of what I lost," she said. "The scholarship, the job, the image I had of myself." She looked up, eyes bright with unshed tears. "But other times," she continued, voice breaking, "I hate myself more. For what I did before any of that. For using you. For letting everyone believe I was this self-made success story while you were killing yourself in the background. For the way I talked about you. On that stage. I hear those words in my head every night." We sat in the small noise of the cafe, milk steaming, spoons clinking. "I told myself I was the hero," she said, "the one who made it out. And you were my example of what I could have been if I failed. It made me feel better. It made me feel special." She swallowed hard. "I think I always knew, deep down, that I didn't get here alone," she said. "But admitting that out loud would mean admitting that I owed you, that I wasn't better, just luckier. So I made you small instead." My throat tightened. "Is that why you called me a loser?" I asked quietly. "On that stage?" She nodded. "If I made you small," she whispered, "I could stay big, at least in my own head." I looked at her face, really looked. The pride, the shame, the girl I knew, the woman I didn't. "Do you regret what you did?" I asked. "Or do you just regret that you got caught?" Her eyes glistened. "Both," she said honestly. "At first it was just panic, anger. I felt like my whole life had been ripped away because of you. I blamed you for everything. But as time went on, I had to sit in the mess I made. Without the scholarship, without the job, without the constant praise. And I had to finally admit that none of this would have happened if I had done the right thing in the first place." She took a deep breath. "If you hadn't emailed them," she said, "I never would have confessed. I would have kept lying. I would have kept telling myself the story that made me feel good. And I would have kept treating you like you were lower than me." She shook her head. "I can't believe I did that to you," she said. "To my own sister." Tears burned my eyes. "I didn't speak up to destroy you," I said. "I spoke up because I was disappearing. You were standing in the light, but that light was partly coming from things you took from me. I couldn't live like that anymore." She nodded, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. "I don't even know if I deserve that. I needed to say I'm sorry, out loud, to your face, not over the phone, not written in some neat message." She sniffed, almost laughing. "And for what it's worth," she added, "Mom sent me pictures from your design showcase. Your stuff was really good. Like, actually good. Not the fake, oh my god, you're so talented good I used to hand out to people to be nice." I felt my cheeks heat. "Thanks," I said. She smiled weakly. "You're not the loser in this story, Maya," she said. I was. I let out a shaky breath. "I'm not going to pretend none of it happened," I said. "I'm not going to forget the speech, or the years before it, or the phone call when you told me I was dead to you." She flinched. "But," I continued, "I also don't want to spend the rest of my life stuck in that moment. I've started building my own life now. It's small, it's messy, but it's mine. If we're going to have any relationship, it has to be different. I won't be your unpaid support system again. I won't be your shadow. I'll be your sister, or I'll be nothing. There's no in between anymore." She nodded slowly. "I can try," she said. "I don't know if I know how, but I'll try." We finished our drinks, awkward and quiet and heavy with history. When we stepped out onto the sidewalk, we stood there for a second, uncertain. "Take care of yourself," I said. "You too," she replied. We walked in opposite directions. Two sisters, two paths. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was watching her move ahead while I stayed behind. I felt like I was walking my own way. Later, lying in bed, staring at the cracks in my ceiling, I thought about everything that had happened. The years of being most helpful, the overtime hours, the essay, the speech, the emails, the fallout, the cafe table where my sister finally said she was sorry. People love revenge stories where the ending is simple, clean. They got what they deserved. I destroyed them. Karma handled it. Real life doesn't look like that. In real life, revenge, if you want to call it that, doesn't erase the past. It doesn't magically fix the broken parts inside you. It doesn't turn you into some triumphant hero walking away from an explosion in slow motion. What it can do, if you're careful, is something else. It can redraw the lines. It can take you from the background of someone else's story and put you back in the center of your own. I didn't expose my sister because I wanted to watch her fall. I exposed her because I was tired of falling alone. I was tired of being the quiet shadow that held up her spotlight. I was tired of being labeled a loser by someone whose victories were built on things I had given up. What I did was messy, painful. There were no winners in the obvious sense. She lost her scholarship, her job, her shiny image. I lost the version of my sister I thought I had. My parents lost their perfect story about their special child and their practical one. But I gained something I hadn't had in a very long time. I gained myself, my own time, my own work, my own small, stubborn belief that I was more than the role I had been assigned. If you've ever been the one in the background, the person who always helps and never gets mentioned, if you've ever watched someone stand on a stage built partly from your effort and talk about you like you're proof of their greatness, maybe you understand. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destroying them. It's refusing to disappear for them anymore. My sister called me a loser at her graduation. Maybe at that moment, in her story, I was. But the day I chose truth over silence, dignity over comfort, and my own path over her shadow, was the day I stopped losing. And she never saw that payback coming.